Hello, everyone. Happy Sunday, and we got an hour back here where I'm at, so that's exciting. It is afternoon, and for some reason, it is a beautiful, warm, and sunny day outside, and yet here I am. But it is because I am excited for No Sew November, and we're on day 2. And my goal for today is to make a spot to store my prompts for the rest of November. I just find it easier if I keep it right in my book and I can pull it out and have access to it. And so I was thinking that I might store this kind of right here on my first real page. And I haven't decided totally, but that's what I'm thinking at the moment. That leaves this whole left page to do something with, or I could do it here. So I'm going to think about that, but my goal today is to use prompt 2, which is paper scraps, of which I have so many. A lot of my other art activities, like making birthday and Christmas cards and just general greeting cards and postcards for folks, and art journaling means that I collect and generate a ton of paper scraps. So we're going to try to use some of those up today. And so to do that, I pulled out my handy dandy bin of junk mail envelopes and tags because that seems like an easy place to start. So I'm going to look for an envelope that I think would be good for this purpose and then decorate it with some paper scraps and other things and just kind of see where it takes me, because who knows where I'm going to end up. But actually this first one right here on the top is cool because it has a giant window, which I like because then I'll be able to see my prompts through it. I'm just going to scroll through my pile, make sure that that is still my first choice. Ooh, a greeting card one would be nice too because it's colorful. But I like the window. I think I'll save that for later. Yeah, let's just go with that. Keep it easy, easy breezy. I can come back and dig through my pile of envelopes and tags another day and start with this. So first things first, actually this fits near perfect. In theory, I could just use this in here as a tip-in and decorate the rest of the page, but I think I'll just go ahead and cut it down to size. And unfortunately for me, I broke a tiny piece of my paper trimmer, and then I tried to repair it 2 or 3 times with super glue, and it finally kind of gave up the ghost. So we're just going to use scissors today, and I don't cut straight, which is why this is shaped the way that it is, because I tried to cut it. I ended up cutting a ton off of this, which is a little bit of a bummer, but I also tried to print it 3 times and had some challenges there. So we're just going to go with this. So let's see. How do I want this to be shaped and sized? I'm going to pop this in here, and I like the idea of the creative prompts part sticking out and the prompts showing through the windows. I'm just trying to see how big I want this to be. It's a little long, but I like the window. So I'm going to trim off the bottom here and then go with that. Yeah, perfect. So if it's just about this size, then I can see everything I want to see. And the envelope doesn't have to be that wide. So I'm just going to make a couple quick marks. I could, of course, tear with my ruler. But because I'm going to be sticking stuff all over the front of it, I'm just gonna cut it. So I'm just using this and having this say be about here-ish, right? Double check. If it's like that, I like the way that looks. So I'm gonna go ahead and trim this envelope just a little bit. Is that straight? Who knows? I'm not exacting, so if that suits your nature, you may enjoy watching how I do things. If you are exacting, it will probably make you very sad because I am short on time. I'm doing this for fun. And so I try to keep things fun and easy for myself because life is short. And life is sometimes challenging, and I don't need a ton of extra challenge in my art practice. Okay, so now I'm just holding this up to my handy dandy ring light, which is what is holding my phone, and looking for about where the bottom is. And it's right where my thumb is. So I'm just going to mark that with a ruler. Make it straight-ish. And then draw a line here. Good enough. Okay, great. So now I'm going to take this out. I'm going to grab my scissors and get the trimming. And then we'll see where we end up after this. I have more scraps for my scrap pile, and I'm going to keep this because I can turn it into a tuck spot or an envelope or a pocket or who knows what later. So I'm just going to put this in my handy dandy scrap pile, and then I'm left with this piece. And I can just double check and make sure I'm still happy with it before we get too far down the road. Yep. It's a little long, but actually I'm going to trim it just slightly more so that I don't lose my prompts in this thing. More scraps for the scrap pile. Plus, I love these cool little designs that are inside of the security envelopes. So more scraps is just more fun. And look, not straight. Is it my scissors? Is it me? Is it both? What's happening? If you understand the mystery of why everything I'm cutting with my favorite pair of scissors is crooked, yeah, please share. Okay, so there we go. I like it. So first things first is I'm going to decorate it because I think it's easier to decorate when it is not glued together. Well, sometimes. How lazy am I feeling today? I don't know, pretty lazy. So I'm gonna just move my big book, my altered book that I'm gonna be using through November out of the way. And let's see, what do I wanna do to this? I wanna keep my window because I like that so much. And I do have lots of pretty washi tape. So it seems like a good time to use some of that washi tape here and here. And then maybe some fabric, some paper scraps down here. Let's grab the scrap bin. I have scraps of all sizes. And I keep them organized like this because I also like to doodle on my scraps to make focal points. But I've got, they're kind of sorted by like type and size. So these are like some of my larger scraps that are mostly blank, see-through scraps, which are really like, do I want to put a tea bag on the window? I don't know. Let's think about that. I'll put one to the side and we can decide later. And then I've got painted paper scraps, or things that kind of already have decorative elements on it. And this is a plain white envelope, so I might use some of those. I'm just going to put these over here out of the way and start just sort of playing around to see what I've got and how I feel about it. If I were to do that, could I still see my prompts? Kinda. I don't know. We'll see how I feel. And then, so I know I want to decorate this bottom part here, and having this helps me kind of see the colors so I can decide what I really want to have happening. So this kind of matches that color, and it's from a magazine. How do I feel about that? Pretty. looking through kind of the rest of my scraps. I generally do a lot of really colorful things in my art journal, so a lot of my scraps are really kind of bright and bold. So just kind of looking at this and the colors that I want to do, I see pinks and greens and yellows and browns. So I do kind of want to stick with that theme so I can pull in the colors from this into other areas. And so just kind of looking through here, this has some of the same coloring. I'll put that to the side. And sorry folks, I am not editing this one. I started a new job and I simply do not have time. So you're gonna get to watch the full process for better or for worse, but luckily you can fast forward. And you know, if I have time to add music and edit and make this cooler, I absolutely will, but every Sunday I actually go to meditation practice for 4 hours a day. So I know I'm limited on my time today, so it's highly unlikely. Just kind of peeking around at some of my other scraps. That's a kind of an interesting one. Along with the color theme. And I'm going to pull all this out because I'm going to try to do both pages. And so having, you know, kind of a pile of scraps that match kind of the color scheme or theme is always helpful. And I keep all my neutrals together so that I don't have to kind of dig through them. I can just kind of grab and go. Whites and browns and tans and khakis are always super easy to choose from. But because these come in a color palette, sometimes they can be more challenging to use. So I go out of my way to make an effort to identify these first. That's pretty, but I don't know. We'll put that over there just in case. Some yellows and some more browns and greens. I have so many. Who knew I used this much yellow, brown, and green? Not me. Apparently I do. I suspect it's from all the beautiful botanicals I've been learning to paint. Oh, look at that, and veggies, how fun. Okay, so that's the pile of scraps. I think that's good enough. Should be plenty to get us started. We can figure it out from here. So, okay, so I'm taking my envelope. I'm just kind of looking at this. Do I want to attempt to decorate it with one of these and try to cut out the window? Maybe, maybe. And am I going to do the back? Or do I just want to like clip it to the page? Also unknown. But anyway, here's where we're going to start. And so I think I'll decorate my envelope first and then work on my background because that'll help me get started. So I'm just, again, taking a look at some of these papers and trying to decide which ones I think I'd like to use. That one's really pretty. It has a number on it. I don't know why, but that's pretty cool. And then it's got some grass. And it's actually like a good size to cover this up. So I think I'm going to start with this one here. And then I've got this. I'm just going to set these over to the side while I figure out what I'm doing with my life. And then we'll come back to them. So I also have my giant glue stick, tiny glue stick, glitter glue, and craft glue. It kind of just depends on what I'm doing. And I also brought along some washi tapes that I thought would be helpful. But first steps first, decorate. Okay. So I'm just going to open this up. And again, I like this. And so if I were to put it up here, it would cover part of this, but not all of it. It's actually just about the right size, so that's pretty great. I think I will affix this envelope to the page, just have it become a pocket. Instead of taking the entire envelope with me each time. Decisions. Can you tell I haven't junk journaled in a while? I get indecisive when I haven't done things. So anyway, let's just start tearing. I'm going to go ahead and take this piece off. I like the way that looks just kind of right out of the gate. So even like the little number, I think that's fun. And that lines up really well. So let's just glue her down. See where we end up. And then, let's see, how about, what will that look like? That looks pretty cool. That looks pretty cool. I actually like that better, so we'll start there. So I want this side over here, so I'm just gonna add some glue. Oops, wow. I just refilled this morning, and it is very juicy, as you can see. Maybe a little too much. Better shake that up some. In the meantime, I always keep some compostable baby wipes. Which I should have known better than even to attempt this without having them out, but it's nice to have these around for cleaning up little messes, just so that you don't end up with sticky stuff everywhere, because then you get glue on your pages where you don't want it. So anytime I get paint or glue someplace I wasn't planning to have it, I just use that. And I'm also working on this deli paper so that I can either use it as my underpapers when I'm painting, or I can use it when I'm gluing. And then if it becomes beautiful, it becomes scraps for art. And if it becomes too gunky and I can't use it for more art in the future, well, I can throw it in the trash. Hey, that's not even affixed. I must have done that before. Look at that. Who knows? Ghosts of junk journals past. Huh. Well, I guess I better glue that back down a little. All right, glitter glue, are you gonna behave this time? Let's find out. I hope so. Do not want to be fighting my glue all day. It's just so thin, which is so unusual. Unless I'm just used to very dried out glitter glue, which is also possible, because I was at the very dregs in my bottle. Okay, so that's glued back down, clean that up. Done and done. And the paper tore a little, but I don't really care. Actually don't mind that look at all. And since I've decided I am not going to decorate the back, I'm just gonna go ahead and glue this shut, because this won't require the level of surgery that some envelopes do. And so it should be pretty easy to work with, even once it's glued together, and then I'll be able to test it out sooner without getting my prompts stuck in the envelope. Really should start wearing my glasses though, because I'm definitely struggling to put the lid back on my glue. The joys of middle age. Okay, there we go. And then I'll do this side. Man, that glue is just so runny. I'm gonna need a bloopers reel after this one. But again, not exacting, good enough. If glue shows up where it's not supposed to, or it's not completely straight, don't care. Okay, so here we are, and now I'm just gonna tear this piece off the end here, and then more scraps. Keep all the scraps. Okay, so I also want to decorate the top, and I don't think I need a tab. We can decide that later if we do, but I'm pretty sure I don't. Okay, and I think what I decided before was I was just gonna put this on here. Does that cover too much of the window? I don't think so. I don't think so. I could be wrong. Wrong quite a bit. And then I just have to decide if I want yellow to yellow. I do. I like that. a lot. Excellent. Just gonna line it up and get to gluing. All right, glitter glue. Be on your best behavior. You're going on the naughty list. I'm pretty sure this was from a magazine because I see AWI, and I support an animal and wildlife rescue group through donations, and with it I get these beautiful magazines that come monthly and have the most gorgeous animal and landscape photos in them that become fantastic junk for my junk journals. So I get to do a little good and get some free art supplies at the same time. Can't complain about that. Okay, so normally I would leave a torn edge, but I think it's good to mix up torn edges and straight edges. I think it gives it some more visual interest. So I'm just gonna trim. I try not to put my good titanium scissors near the glue, so I have some backup duty scissors that I use for things like this. Okay, and then we have one area left to be decorated still. Could do that and keep the theme going. I'm gonna run out, so let's see what else I've got that I can use for scraps. And I'm gonna bust into the little scraps bin. I wasn't kidding, I have so many scraps. Scraps everywhere, scraps for days. That kind of matches, it might look cool. How much of this will be uncovered if I were to put this on here? Not too much. A little bit of white. I don't really mind that. And this could go under here like a little puzzle piece. And there's always paint if I decide that that's the look that I'm looking for. Okay. So yeah, that fits quite nicely. And we've got this piece here. Fantastic. And, you know, sometimes I do the inside of the envelopes, but I really just intend to keep that in there. It's not something I'm going to switch around. I'm always going to want it near the front of my book, so I'm not going to worry about that too much. Just going to go ahead and I'm going to tear a little tiny piece off the bottom and glue. All right, the glitter glue is starting to behave a little more normally, so that's good. It's going to keep storing on its side. Line this up. Press. And then we can go for the top. And then I can see how I feel about it. And I know a lot of people like to ink all of their edges, and sometimes I do too. Kind of just depends on how I'm feeling. I'm not feeling like it today. Again, it's Sunday. I've had a very long and challenging week. I am tired, and I simply don't want to, and that is a good enough reason, because this junk journal is for me and my creative expression. And if you're not having fun, what is the point? If this is your livelihood, maybe a different story, and I understand completely, but it is not mine. Okay, so that's glued. Hopefully it sticks and behaves itself. And while this dries, I have occasionally had envelopes glue themselves shut, which is problematic. So I'm going to just tuck something in here to prevent that from happening. And on my desk, I happen to have some watercolor tubes. So that's what I'm gonna use. Should just hold this open a little bit and make sure the envelope does not glue itself completely shut. Okay, so part one done. Paper scraps on an envelope. Now let's get to the fun part, which is worrying about what we're going to do with the rest of our pages, of which I have not a single clue. I have given this zero thought. Sometimes I'm organized before I record, sometimes I'm full of ideas. Today is not one of those days. Okay, so let's take a look. There's a lot of brown and yellow, so that's great. I think this envelope will fit nicely over here. And I'm just, trying to look and see the size. But the rest of this needs some love. So let's think about what we want to do to kind of stick with some of the color themes. But, not just straight up book pages. So again, I'm going to pull out my handy dandy scrap pile and see what I can make of this. And then what colors go with green and browns? I still have not figured this out, but let's take a look. So I often like to use 3 colors together. So I'm gonna say this is kind of a yellow, yellow, orange. And so we could also go with like red, violet, and a blue, green. Very pretty. Yeah. It's also very yellow, so that also gives us reds and blues. Okay, I don't know, just gives me an idea. I'm looking at yellows and blues, and I can put these things together and see what I like and what I don't like, and see what I mean about my deli paper. This is one that I previously used while art journaling, and then I get left with all of this gorgeous crinkly texture. It can be opaque if you don't use a ton of gesso on it like I did. And it's just kind of fun. So I think it makes some great junk journal pages. This I pulled out of a gardening catalog. Has some of the colors we might want. A tea bag, some previous jelly printing. Probably gouache on a book page. Okay. Let's start grabbing this stuff. It looks like I've got the right colors together already, which is very good. So I kind of like the colors on this one. I'm just going to go ahead and tear it. And start making these pages interesting. Because why not? Trying to see which way I like it. And I kind of just really digging that look. So I might do the whole thing, honestly. Or most of it. So I'm just going to get it to the approximate size that I'm looking for. And then fold it up at the bottom so I know where I want to kind of tear it again. I'll just give it a good fold and then tear. And I'm trying to use up my scraps, but I'm just continually generating scraps as we go, as you can see. Which is kind of funny. I'm middle-aged, so one of these days I'm going to have to stop making so many scraps so my poor kid is not responsible for cleaning up my scrap pile. Okay, there we go. It's got the blues and the greens and the yellows. It's a good shape. It's pretty thin, so I could actually just glue it all the way down and then have that be the left side. Okay, let's do that. And since the glitter glue is being a little weird, I might go PVC for this one. because I want to stick an envelope to it. So I want it to be well attached. Go. I think that looks pretty good. So I'm just gonna tuck this guy down here, flatten this, make sure it still kind of fits the page. And then just to make life a little easier for myself, I'm gonna go ahead and stick some washi on here to kind of hold this down so that as I'm decorating the other page, it's not just sort of flopping everywhere in the wind. And so I've got some washi. I rather like these little tickets. Let's go with that. And I keep my washi on these rings so that I can kind of organize them by color and style and then just hang them up on my pegboard when I'm done. I used to keep them in a box, but I bought myself a very inexpensive pegboard just about a month or so ago and hung that up. Oh boy. Washi tape's not behaving. Adding it to the blooper reel. Okay. Let's put this one here. Kind of like that. I'm gonna grab some more washi. This washi tape is kind of old. I bought a ton of washi tape a few years ago and then like never used it. So I am going out of my way to make sure I use my beautiful washi tape. I think I was just worried about ruining it, obviously. You know, like I had a ton of fantastic art supplies that I didn't use because they were too beautiful, but life is short. And if you don't use them, they're gonna go to waste anyway. So this is your permission slip to go grab all your favorite art supplies and start using them before they go bad. In Japan, I learned that there's a hobby for collecting books that is different from the hobby of reading books. And so I'm adapting that to art supplies. I collect art supplies as its own hobby, and then I use them as a second hobby. Okay, so this guy's doing good. Huzzah. And I think I'm gonna put it right about there. So that tells me what other decorating I need to do. And I just want to take a look at some of the colors because I don't want it to be super boring. I know I tried to keep doing vintage style journaling, which calls for more neutral colors, but I just really struggle with it. I love bright colors. So I'm gonna mash up both in this journal, I'm sure, as I always do. And yeah, I kind of like that as a background. Let's see where that takes us. I kind of like this guy too. Okay, so I'm gonna use this up here. Just leave a little bit of the border. And I'm doing paper on paper, so my glue stick usually does quite well with that. So we're just gonna glue stick it. And if I need to come back and add glue or washi tape or something to secure it later, no big deal. This is why I have this giant glue stick, because it just makes the work so much faster. And I kind of feel like a kid again. It's like giant crayons or something. I think I have my desk a little too tall. I converted from this cheap white folding desk that I've had forever over to a cheap standing desk that is new to me. And it's lovely because I'm not just hunched over that little tiny folding desk all the time. But also, I think it might be a little too tall. And because this is an altered book, some part of me kind of wants to keep just a tiny bit of stuff showing at the bottom so that you can still see that it's a book without completely covering it. But I do want to add a few layers. I think I'm going to take this page, which has these cool colors, and just kind of add this here. And I might do it, do I want to do a pocket? Or do I just want a collage? Can't decide. So indecisive today. I kind of like that it mirrors the shape. And I kind of like that it mirrors the colors a bit. There is kind of a lot going on, so I'm trying to decide. I want to work in a little bit of neutrals here to break it up. I like the way that looks. That even gives me a little bit of journaling space. I move it down further. Turn it into a pocket. I think I might. Okay, so let's glue this guy down. Tear a little bit of that off. A little bit of that off. So that it is perfectly imperfect. I like the gesso side. I usually gesso my papers so that I can draw or paint on them. It's a little bit stark. I'm gonna go with this side. Like just the plain old brown. Okay, so I think it will stick with the gesso. Not sure if I've really used my glue stick on the gesso, but there's only one way to find out. Well, there's two. I could Google it, see if somebody else has already made this mistake, but I like to learn the hard way. So we're just gonna go for it and see what happens. And if it works out, great. If it doesn't work out, it's already trash, who cares? And I don't mind wrinkles. Again, I like things imperfect. It is a junk journal. It is made out of literal trash. So I think that is totally acceptable. Just throw stuff out if you don't like it. Or cover it up and start over. Both possibilities always exist. I do kind of like the idea of this being a pocket, to be honest. So a double pocket front, maybe too much. Who cares? I can put my prompts in here. I can journal and stuff it in here so everybody doesn't have to read what's going on in my life. So I'll just go ahead and glue 3 sides. Plus I like to collect little goodies and store them in there. And then I can go back and look at them. They're like little old time capsules. And I can look at what's remained constant in my life and what's changed. I think journaling just gives you such good perspective on life. And one thing that I certainly have learned is that everything changes. Nothing that is bad forever. The flip side, of course, being nothing is good forever, and both are okay. But it's nice to kind of review them, especially if you're in a funk or going through difficult times, to go back and just look at what worked and what didn't. What did you learn along the way? And how did you feel about it? Okay, so I like having kind of the green here around this little section and just leaving the bottom plain. Now I'll probably put some information there. That leaves this open, and I'm not sure what I want to do there. I don't really have focal images yet. So maybe it's time to start looking at some focal images, or maybe layering some interest. I mean, that's really pretty. Kind of like the trees and all of that fun color. I think that has good visual interest there. So I'm just gonna fold this over. Oh, look, it's an old hospital bill that I painted over. That's hilarious. I really do use all of my trash. I mean, art supplies are expensive enough as it is, and we generate so much trash all of the time that I just really enjoy reusing and recycling things before I go out and buy new. Okay, so that beautiful snake's not going to get used, so no point in covering him up. Serves two purposes. A, I get to keep my little snake to use for later, and these are actually some fun foam stamps that I made. Ironically, I'm using another project, so I'll show you really quick. You just take some fun foam, cut it into a shape. You can use a ballpoint pen to give it texture and stick to some cardboard. And then you can use it on your jelly plate. You can brayer it with some paint, stick it on your pages. This was, obviously I used it on a jelly plate. How fun. Okay, so we're gonna put him in the cool pictures pile to use for later. And we will glue down our trees. And break out the handy dandy glue stick once again. And I find it easier to just glue right onto the pages that I'm using most of the time. I mean, you do risk pages sticking together and tearing, but to me that just adds to the interest. And I don't like having a ton of sticky stuff everywhere else, but I'm already making a sticky mess on this page, so why not just lean into it, right? That's how I feel about it. Okay. And where do I like it? I like it right here. And why do I like it right here? Well, I like that even though most of this is covered up, because that deli paper remains sort of transparent, you can actually still see just a tiny bit of the book underneath. And I think that's really cool. So you can see resource. Look at that. How fun. And I covered up my washi tape, so now I have to add more. Haha. Well, the good news is washi tape is getting used, and that is why I purchased this washi tape, was to use it. And there's still so much left. Anybody else have a washi tape collection? I think I might be part crow because I just love pretty shiny things. Or maybe it's the ADHD or the autism, of which I have both. And I know a lot of people are concerned about me sharing these things, but I don't really care. It's how I am. It's a big part of how I see and interact in the world. And honestly, it's not a problem for me. So if somebody else has a problem with it, that is a them problem. So if you also are a neurospicy collector of shiny things, let's be friends. Okay, here we go. All right, how pretty. I really love how it kind of is bringing all these colors together. I like that a lot. All right, now let's glue this guy on. Yeah, it's a little messy, but I love it. It's perfect. And I'm gonna go ahead and glue this little flap down while I'm at it. And sometimes I just clip these in with like paper clips or make it so that it folds over other pages so that it's removable. But for this one, I don't have any intention to remove it. So why fuss with all of that? Just be practical and glue her down. One of the things I really like about this PVC glue is that it's not the fastest drying, which is both good and bad. But what's great about it is that if I first put this down and I'm not like thrilled about where it is, I can still pretty easily remove it and scoot it around. Versus some of my other glues, I have so many glues. Like this Fast Grab tacky glue is great. It's thick and it's good for gluing stuff down, but it gives you less opportunity to kind of move things. So that can be its own challenge. Okay, so I'm just gonna let my prompts be the focal point over here. I already have lots of pretty layers made out of my paper scraps. I love it. Colors are coloring. I like how this, like that just pulled up from the jelly print from something I had done before, but it reminds me of like colorful fall leaves on these like birch trees or the aspen trees. I don't know. And then now I have a pocket over here that I want to put something in. And it kind of reminds me of like a sky and mountains and ground, very abstract. But it doesn't really have a focal point. So perhaps we should have one. I don't know. And I need to use something for journaling. So let's see. It's too big. I could cut it down and turn that into a journal card if I wanted to just like really keep that theme going if I wanted to. Maybe that is what I want to do. It's a good size for this journal. But it's not really sturdy enough and has a bunch of stuff on the back. So what I'm gonna do is stick this to some more plain paper so that I have writing space on the back and it thickens it up a bit. So I'm just gonna dive into my scrap pile here and see what all I've got. That's too thick. What do I want to use? Could just use some plain paper. Could use some tea-dyed paper. It's not really going to be visible, so I don't know that it's important. Let's see. Do we have any suitable size scraps in our plain paper box? Let's see. Here is my plain paper scraps, which I have been using the heck out of. So this, believe it or not, is much emptier than it once was. That guy's kind of cool. Also kind of thin though. It might flop around a bit. If I don't find any thicker papers, I might just grab some cardboard packaging or something because I have plenty of that. Nothing goes to waste in this house. That is significantly thicker. I glue that on there. Fairly sturdy. I think that'll do. I do have some cardboard though. Decisions. This paper is really thick. That might be nice. I could just write in white pen on the blue paper. Or black and keep it sort of obscured. I don't know, I'm feeling kind of good about that. Let's go with it. Ooh, I have gessoed. Also a good size. Thicker. And then I could doodle. Where do I want to go with this today? Not feeling it. Okay. So I'm just gonna scoot the big book to the left. Grab this blue paper. No idea what that's from. And stick it on here. Okey-doke. I put it on there just like that. And then I think to make this just a little more sturdy, I'm gonna fold this over and glue it. Have slightly less journaling space, but you know, no biggie. Do I want to round my corners? Things I should have thought about before. We can still try it after. It's fine. And I'm going to trim this down just a little bit. And then I have more paper scraps. No paper scraps left behind. Into the scrap bin you guys go for next round. Lovely. Some glue. First, I'm gonna trim these corners just a little bit. Boop. Boop. Boom. And some people keep these, and good for them. I don't have the time or energy to deal with it, so if they get to be a certain size of being small, I just stop dealing with it. I have enough scraps. At least that's what I keep telling myself. Just means I need to do more art to use up my scraps so I can make more scraps. Fun stuff. Okay, and I'm just gonna fold this over. One of the reasons I like using kind of the thicker cardstock, so it makes it easier to tell where to fold. And I'm getting glue everywhere, but again, this is a journaling card in a junk journal. Who cares? Make a mess, have fun, be a kid again. Perfect. I'm just pressing to make sure it gets good and stuck. That, for some reason, is very chunky and very weird. Problem solved. Okay, let's see. I really would like to round the corners just because it protects the edges from wear and tear when you're sliding stuff in and out. I don't know how much I'm really going to do that. I probably won't even do it, but let's just find out what happens when I round these corners. Put this in my handy dandy corner rounder. Is it gonna, will it corner? Always a question. Maybe not. In which case, it's going to answer the question about whether or not I'm going to have rounded corners. It could just be this corner rounder. It's kind of fussy. I'll grab my backup one. Came from Japan and it had the word pro on it. So I thought it would do better than my cheapie. But so far I've not been super impressed. Yeah. This one's doing a better job. That's funny. Pro indeed. And the hardest part is getting your corners in here. And, you know, if I waited until it was dry, this would probably be a lot easier. But I'm impatient. No time to wait. Mostly because it's nice outside and I'm going to go do some stuff. All right, we got a little snippage. Wasn't meant to be. Fine. No rounded corners for you. And then I might put a focal image on this and tuck it in. Let's see how much sticks out. You can see where we might want to put a focal image. And then maybe like a little phrase or something. So cute. And not a big focal image because not a lot of that card is sticking out. So let's dig around in focal images. Oh my goodness. My focal image pile is huge, and it's because I just made a bunch of collage clusters with my other scraps. Because I was trying to use up my scraps. I could Put a collage cluster on the front of this pocket. That actually looks pretty jazzy. I'm liking that. I'm liking that too. Oh, I'm getting crazy. Which is fine. Put these to the side because both of those are really cool. I don't know what I'm going to do with them. I do kind of like them. And I'm just like, you know, playing with it to see what I like, what I don't like. How does that look? I think that one is kind of fun. Just like that. That's exciting. Okay, so first choice. Let's try a few more. Okay, but not first choice. Same. I have so many of these collage clusters. I just grabbed all my scraps and randomly started sticking them together, because why not? That's kind of fun. Maybe I don't decorate the journaling card at all. Maybe I just decorate the front of this pocket. Or maybe I do both. Is it too much? Double mushrooms. That is kind of fun. Becomes less of a focal image that way, but I don't hate it. It's a fun one. Okay, I'm getting carried away. I think it's good, actually. We're just gonna go with these. Because why not? I get to use 2 collage clusters. I get some interesting stuff to look at. Oh my gosh, look at all this stuff in here. This is crazy. Crazy. Do lots of jelly prints and watercolors. Just kind of playing around. Is there anything else I might want to add to this pretty page? No. I think it's good for now. All right, back you go. Oh man, got this. Got these. Oh no, there's too many pretty mushrooms. I watercolored these mushrooms and I adore them. My biggest complaint is I just have too many to choose from. What a good problem to have. Okay, I'm done playing. I've got things to do. It's sunny outside. We're gonna sit in here all day and do this. So let's get to gluing. So I actually like that right there. Just gonna put some glue on. Glue this down so it's just less flappy in general. And I never made collage clusters until this year, if you can believe it. All these junk journals and collage clusters were just like not my thing. But I got into the spirit and just made a whole bunch one day. And now I love them. Which is great. Okay, leave a little bit of that visible underneath. I did not glue that. Good job, me. And I don't mind that things are wiggly and moving around. I don't mind it at all. It just makes it more interesting. I love good texture. It's something fun to look at and play with. Okay. Glue this part. And this part. And I want it flat, but I don't think I have to worry about it too much because it's sticking out primarily above that pocket, so I think it should be just fine. And so it's one of my watercolor mushrooms. It is a yogi tea, probably tea bag tag with like a cute little saying. It says, "One who knows how to enjoy life does not need riches." So cute and inspiring. I totally agree. Now I have a journaling card that I can write on after I'm off camera. That tucks in nicely. Love that. I would say I feel like this is in fact visually interesting. My little pocket is done. Super pleased with how that's turned out. I've made a giant mess on my desk. What did I do with my prompts? Oh, there they are. Go ahead and tuck. Does it fit? Does it work? Did it glue itself together? Possibly. I should probably glue this together, to be honest. But I always keep a letter opener around just in case I have some challenges with pockets misbehaving. Comes in handy a lot. Cute. Oh, I love that. And let's see. I'm going to write the year down here. And just grab a pen or a Sharpie. Sharpie it is. Got it on my desk because I've been playing with a bunch of stuff. And the only challenge is that this book is enormous, as you can see, thousands of pages. And it was already just all damaged and waterlogged. So it's getting a new life and some new love. All right, now I got some junky lettering to go with my junky journal. And last but not least, I don't know, I think putting a tab on there might be fun. I'm sure I've got stuff around here that would make a great tab. Fold this in half. What does this look like? Cute. And keep that as hidden journaling space. But, nah. I'm just gonna go ahead and glue this together. Actually, I can make a pocket. I can hide stuff in there later if I want to. I don't know why I would, but you never know. It's just fun to find hidden pockets and stash little stuff in there for your future self to find and be delighted by. Okay. Now she's glued. Unevenly, because my scissors are being so weird. I'm so confused. What did I do to you, scissors? Done. And then I'm going to break out my stapler. And this is going to become a tab. Just to make it a little bit easier to pull it in and out of the pocket. Oh, goodness me. Done. And let's round these corners. Look pro. You got to be pro at something. Can you be pro at this? Oh my gosh. Worst, most expensive corner rounder ever. So deeply disappointing. Have you ever been disappointed in any of your art supply purchases? I bet you have. Tell me all about it in the comments so I'm not so alone. So much stuff I buy. But I think the first I started with was buying really cheap paints and then trying to actually paint. If you're just using it as craft paint or for like jelly printing, totally cool. If you are attempting to paint things with it, Very frustrating to do like 4 layers. It's not great. So anyway, one thing I learned not to go for the cheapest bargain on was acrylic paints. Now I will say for my watercolors, same thing true, but they seem to be slightly more forgiving. Anywho, I might come back and write something on here in like some gold, maybe a good quote. It's hard. I'm not feeling particularly inspired at this exact moment, but I might go look up a quote. I keep a book of quotes, actually. It's another altered book. It was about finance, and it was from the 60s, and so it gave terrible advice, but it's a beautiful cover, and I couldn't help myself. And, all right, it's a place for me to practice art journal layouts. Sometimes they work, sometimes they don't. I don't love this one, but the point is, you can just come in here, and every time you see a cool quote, write it down. And then you can add to your journal later. Actually, I like this Pablo Picasso one. Let's do that. So I'm going to break out one of my markers. Maybe I lied. I recently learned that you are not supposed to store rollerball pens, acrylic pens, gel pens vertical. I live in a little tiny place, and so I have been storing everything that I possibly could vertically up the walls so that I could have more room. But what I learned is that it keeps them from working well, and so now I've just temporarily tossed them into these makeup bags until I can come up with a better solution. Okay, here we go. Let's see how we get on. Okay, that's fun. I love this chrome gold marker, by the way. I was introduced to this in one of my painting classes, and it is just so shiny and pretty. And I think it looks really beautiful reflecting on this navy paint from before. I love that this guy wiggles around. So fun. Well, I'm done. That was it. That was a ton of fun. It took longer than I planned, but that's just because I didn't have my stuff together. But I think it fits really nicely through this little window. I can see most of them. I can pull it out. Everything has these beautiful rich colors and textures. I got to use so many scraps and washi tape and my little mushrooms. So yay, I'm happy. I cannot wait to see what everybody else does with this prompt. Have a fantastic Sunday. Enjoy that extra hour of crafting, and I'll see you back here tomorrow. Bye.